Well, welcome, Gabriel. This one is assign. So you can't see what I'm seeing. It's an extension for VS Code, but basically you have a target, an object, and a source array of objects, and you need to copy a property from source to target. If it has the same property as the source, you should always keep the source property and drop the target property. So basically it's Object.assign. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward in that regard. So would you like to introduce yourself, by the way? I feel like it always feels strange not to say. Could you tell us briefly who you are? Yeah.
So hey, I'm Gabriel. I'm a senior software engineer. I work at Datadog. I'm working on database stuff for work. And I'm also the author of the type level TypeScript course, which is like a pretty advanced TypeScript course that tries to show you how you can think about the type system of TypeScript as a general purpose programming language, and how you can apply techniques that you know from regular value level programming to the type level, so to types. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty useful for library authors, for instance, because like libraries tend to be pretty abstract. Like you need to, like they are very generic. That's the point of building libraries. It can be pretty hard to write like correct types with like the most accurate type inference possible for your libraries.
Yeah.
And so this is like basically the target audience. Like if you are if you consider yourself like an intermediate to advanced TypeScript developer and you want to find resources to move to the next step and get even better, it's probably interesting. You should check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, we're doing, as a teaser to people, we're doing more videos after the challenges on lots of topics, and I'm definitely going to try to get you on to talk about that one. As well as so many cool libraries, TS Pattern and HotScript, and you're a pretty productive guy. Okay, but anyway, Object.assign. So I'm sure you're familiar with Object.assign.
I am.
How would you think about solving a challenge like this? So like, I guess we can look at the tests here. So we have A1, we have an empty object and we're assigning these things to it. So of course, this one is very simple because there are no conflicts, but if there's a conflict later, let's find one. So like we start for A3, for example, we start with A1, and then A2 is 2, the value 2 is overwritten, and then the last one, the value 3 is overwritten, and we see in the output that we expect the last thing that came in. So the kind of last one gets the precedence if there's a conflict, but if there's not, then just pass values through. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so I was initially thinking that we could use we could basically unpack this array of types as a union type of objects, and try to intersect all of them to create this like intersection of objects, and return that. So this sounds like it seems like a simple solution, but I think it's not going to work because it's not going to handle conflicting properties properly, because intersections of objects are like deep intersections. So like the intersection is going to propagate to all properties. It means that we are going to intersect types that are not overlapping. So for instance, for property A, we would be intersecting 2 and 3, which would evaluate to never. So it's not going to work. So instead, I think what we should do is to iterate over the lists of objects, and do something that looks like a reduced loop at the value level. And every time, so we also need to have like a binary assign function that takes 2 types and assign the properties of the second one to the first one. And this binary assign function needs to remove conflicting properties from the first type. So I would implement that. Do you want me to try to do something to code it, or?
I have a couple solutions that already sound close to what you're saying, but we could play around with it if you, yeah, why not? We could play around for a minute.
Sure. So yeah, so first we need to solve the problem of assigning properties between 2 objects with conflicting properties. So let's create this assign2, I'm going to call it, function, which takes two unknown object types And so what we want basically is naively we would just intersect them, and that would be enough if there is no conflicting properties. But since we don't want to have conflicting properties, we need to omit the keys of the second type from the first one. So in the case of I don't know, like this example, for instance, we have AB, and like the next type also has AB. So we are going to omit AB from this first type, and it's going to return like an empty object. And we are going to intersect an empty object with the second one, which is the same thing as just the second type. So yeah. So we do that for two types, and then we need to iterate over the list and do that over and over again until we reach the end of the list. So yeah, like I see that you already started with the
I kind of set you up. Yeah.
So here we are essentially splitting the list of types into parts, like the head, the first element, and the rest of the list, which is the tail. So so the simple solution would be to assign the properties of the head to the current type, and we actually need to also assign the type of the tail, and it's handy because we have a function for that.
Yeah, so we're gonna recurse.
We can just recurse.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I think that should work, except it doesn't.
So I think we have to handle. Let's look at what's an easier one. Let's look at A1. I guess A1 is failing. Oh, we need to do the merge trick.
Yeah. So it's so this is not very important. Like semantically, I think the solution is correct. But the issue is that we are returning an intersection of several objects, and equals wants the two objects to be the two types to be exactly the same. So we need to merge those intersections.
Yep. So I did it for you. Everybody, this has come up so many times on the challenges. If you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry, but I'm tired of explaining it at this point. I think it's so interesting that you mentioned it's a fact of equals. It took me a long time to understand that this really doesn't, this is just for the equals type that we use in the challenges, or that everybody uses to, this is to make that type happy, but otherwise it doesn't matter, like you said.
Yeah, it's also a bit nicer because like the types that is getting displayed on hover and stuff is easier to understand. It's nicer to look at. But
yeah, definitely. But there is one still failing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. A4. Oh wow, we have symbol.iterator.
Yeah, we are assigning things. So basically, it looks like it should support invalid inputs. I didn't know that. So I didn't read the test carefully. So here we are trying to assign an empty string to an object or 0 to an object. And like the expected behavior seems to be that we should ignore those values. So we need to filter those values out first.
Yep.
So we can just use a conditional type, I think. So I believe we can use extends objects.
Yes, we can. Yep.
Special.
And don't mind me with the formatting. We have to fit it on a very. I try to make the challenges fit on a phone. So if somebody watches on a phone, they can see. So we have like a very short wrapping. But
understood. Yeah. So in this case, we basically want to ignore head and just keep recursing with the rest of the list.
Amazing. Yeah, you did it. I'm so impressed. So the example the solution that you just gave, so bravo, I don't know. The solution that you just gave is the one that Yingsung Meta has given on GitHub. So Gabriel, you'll see this as we do more together. I always try to show people other examples of other solutions that I found of people on the GitHub submitting. And this is one from Yingsung Meta, and it's extremely similar to what you did. The only real difference is you extracted this part into a helper, and he did it inline. But otherwise, I think the solutions are identical. So
yeah,
amazing. really amazing.
Well, you helped me a little bit with the structure and everything, so I was guided.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, if I were guided, I would definitely not have been able to do what you just did. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed. This is another one. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think about this one? I'll let you look at it for a second.
Yeah. So let me try to understand it. So we have basically the same structure. We're splitting the list and assigning the list over and over again. So this is basically inlining what we have been doing with merge.
Yes.
So with this solution, we don't need to merge at the end because we are constructing our object as a single object instead of an intersection of several objects.
Yep.
The way we do that is by looping through all the keys of both T and head and prioritize like the values of head over the values of T. So if there is a value in head, we just return it. Otherwise, we pick the value of T. So that works too. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. I love how easily you're able to make sense of this stuff. You have a really strong ability to read this, I can tell. This is the last one, Drylint on GitHub. And I think again, you're going to say it's very similar to what we saw before. It also inlines the merging, but it does it at the same time as doing the prioritization that you were talking about. So I think all of these are basically the same answer, just refactored in different ways. Sometimes, we see very different approaches. These are mostly the same approach, just like some stylistic differences on what to extract and how. So what do you think? Which one do you like the most? You can say your own. That's fine.
Well, I do like mine, but but I kind of like the fact that we are trying to compose several functions together, and I think it helps with it makes it feel easier to grasp because you can see that there are like chunks that you can understand in isolation. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, awesome. It's fun to see the different variations. Okay, well that's it for that one. On to the next one, huh?